Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'll be giving my first impressions review on a very interesting shoe, the Mizuno Rebellion Pro 2. And like always, I'll go over the basic stats and then my experience using it after one run. Alright, so my men's size 8.5 weighs in at 7.4 ounces or 209 grams. And that's decently light for this shoe that has a ton of midsole cushion. Now the stack height, this is an interesting topic. It's stated as having 38 millimeters in the rear, 36.5 in the forefoot for a heel to toe drop of 1.5 millimeters. Now if you look at the middle of the shoe, there is way more than 38 millimeters. And as many of you know, for a shoe to be considered legal for racing, it has to come in under 40 millimeters, the stack height. However, where they take the measurements from is in the heel and in the forefoot. So because Mizuno has cut away a lot of this heel, they have been able to get over 50 millimeters of stack height in the middle of the shoe. So I think that's awesome. That's a pretty interesting way of working with the rules or guidelines and putting much more of that sweet midsole into the shoe and actually exceeding the legal limit, but being able to get away with it. The Rebellion Pro 2 does fit true to size. Width is pretty average. Again, like most other super shoes, if you have a really wide foot, probably not going to be the best option for you. The upper on the shoe is very simple and lightweight. The tongue is extremely thin. It's not gusseted at all, but I didn't have any issues with it sliding around. There are a few internal straps sewn into the upper. I don't feel them while out running, but I have a feeling it really does help the lockdown of this shoe. Now the crazy midsole on this shoe. So Mizuno is using dual density. So you have the Energy Light Plus on the top layer. And that's going to give a softer feeling. And then on the bottom you have the regular Energy Light midsole, and that's going to give it a firmer feel. And then of course sandwiched in between these foams is a carbon infused wave plate. On the outsole you're getting full rubber coverage, and this rubber is very sticky. And obviously you have this big cutout in the center of the shoe that probably helps save a significant amount of weight. Alright, so now my thoughts on running in the shoe. So first of all, the run that I did was 18K, and I did a main set of 3 by 5K. That first set was a little bit slower than marathon pace, and then the final 2 sets of 5K was done at marathon pace, which for me is in the low 320 per kilometer range. And to go back a little bit further, when I first got the shoe and I was trying it around my house, it felt wild. Honestly, when I first put them on, I thought there is no way you could comfortably run in this shoe. So first of all, this is absolutely a shoe that you're not going to want to stand around in or walk around in. This shoe has one specific job, and that's to run fast and preferably in a straight line. So during my first 18K run, during the warm-up, to be totally honest, I wasn't a huge fan of how the shoe felt. I don't think this shoe is intended to feel very nice at slow paces at all. And this workout I did with a friend, and I remember telling him as soon as we started that first interval, I remember I looked back at him and I said, oh, now this shoe feels very nice. So for me, at my paces, shifting from like a 430 per kilometer during my warm-up into that 320 to 340 range, the shoe really came to life and started feeling a lot more natural. One thing I will mention is I'm more of a rear midfoot striker, so I'm probably actually landing right where this pivot point is on the shoe. And honestly, I think if you run with less than ideal form, like you have a sloppy foot strike or you're heel striking, this shoe is not going to work very well for you. And not to put the shoe into an elitist category, but I also think it's going to work better with faster runners, and I would probably say you should be able to run like a 3-hour marathon or under. For me, I'm hoping this is going to be my Vancouver Marathon shoe. I have that coming up in about 3 months. I'm looking to break the 225 barrier for the first time. But before I decide on this shoe as a race day option, I need to do a few more training sessions just to make sure that I can really dial in that marathon pace and make it work for me. So obviously, because how this shoe is set up, it's in a pretty aggressive position, and it has a very aggressive rocker feel to it. Now, one thing I will say is it feels out of this world when you're just walking around, but when you do pick up the pace, this shoe does feel a lot more natural and normal. And you can certainly tell that, especially right under the middle of the shoe, there is a ton of midsole foam. and I would actually consider the shoe pretty stable. Mind you, it's not a stability shoe, but it does have a big flare out in the forefoot, and every landing did feel quite stable. However, I will mention on my workout there's a couple times that we had to turn around, and I will say that wasn't the most comfortable turning around in a shoe, not because it's unstable, but just because it has such a super high stack height. Making a tight corner or a turnaround is not ideal in this shoe. I think it, for me, is going to really shine at that marathon pace and running in a mostly straight line. As far as the ride itself, at least at faster paces, felt smooth, aggressive, bouncy. If I had to compare it to any other race day shoe that I've ran in, I would probably say the Saucony Endorphin Elite. But ultimately, this shoe is still quite a bit different than that shoe and does feel quite a bit more aggressive, and in my mind has the potential to probably be a lot faster, at least how I run and my foot strike. And finally, the price of the shoe, you're looking at $290 Canadian or $250 US, and that's up there. This is obviously Mizuno's premium, top of the line race day shoe for road racing, but that price point still is coming in a little bit less expensive than some of its competitors. So first impressions, it's a wild shoe, and I need a lot more testing to make up my mind if I'm going to use it in the Vancouver Marathon. And this shoe just handles faster paces, so when I do other workouts to test this shoe, I'll likely do my warm-up and my cool down in a separate shoe and then change into these and then hopefully let her fly. So anyways, hope that made sense for a first impressions review. If you have any questions about the shoe, leave your comments down below and I'll try to get back to you. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.